Good morning. It is Monday, June 16, 2014. UPBOptionMillionaires.com. Hope everyone all you fathers out there had a great Father's Day. And now we have to talk about the market. The market pulling back a little bit here pre-market. The futures spiked lower at the open yesterday evening based on Iraqi. Just disgusting. I mean, I don't really want to go into it, but the fact that these people live on the same planet as us just nauseates me. Nonetheless, we still have to trade. And the market so far putting on some binders, I believe, just kind of looking straight ahead. We had a lot of acquisitions today announced after the bell on Friday. Also, OpenTable was purchased for a $46 premium from Priceline. So this is all bullish. It's kind of, you look at it, it's making asset prices look still cheap. And if you look, it's the same thing when the Clippers were bought for, or supposedly, we don't know what's going to happen, but $2 billion. I mean, almost double what everyone thought the Clippers were worth. It was the NBA team, so it's kind of revaluing asset prices, which makes MSG, which Wall Street Journal, I shouldn't say Wall Street Journal, but Barron's was talking about this weekend. But let's go into a couple charts real quick, and then we'll start the week off, hopefully making some money like we did last week. All right, let's look. This is the last bastion for the Bears, the IWM, the Russell 2000 ETF, putting in possibly a left shoulder here, a head, and a right shoulder. This would be some sort of head and shoulders topping pattern. Would it portend just a brief pullback or more to the likes that we saw at the start of 2013, the end of 2012? These kind of prices here at 75, which would be a nice pullback. If you look from a closer perspective, we had a nice move right after the open on Friday. A nice really spike up. And look at these beautiful bull flags that have been formed since the end of May here. So we hit down to about 108. A nice bull flag, another flag pole with a flag, and that's where we are right now. So even if we pull back down to this 115 level, which we did briefly on Thursday and Friday of last week, this flag is still intact, and you would look to see a similar spike up coming either later in the session today or tomorrow. If this it's almost like a stair pattern here where you got these continuing bull flags. So that's bullish short term. Longer term, we got to watch this forming head and shoulders pattern. We know every bearish pattern, long term or medium term bearish pattern, has proven to be just another sucker punch for the Bears. So let's just keep an eye on it this time. I mean, one of these days, some topping patterns got to work. That's the saying from the bear with the last 50 cents. Can't even pay commission to get into a short position. Let's pull up some other charts. VXX, I put this chart up at StockTwits. It also talked about it in my videos last week. It could be possibly putting in some sort of a bottom here. Now, I know the same thing. Anybody who's been trying to call a bottom on VXX since it came out in 2009 hasn't been doing so good. It's $5,000 to $31 split adjusted. That's pretty wild. But if you look over the last 5 days, of course, with the stuff going on in the Middle East, certainly not selling off like it has been since the middle of April. This was the April 15 tax deadline lows that we saw in the market, and they've been rallying ever since. And look how the VX has just been selling off. There was a big $1.125 million out of the money option trade made, I believe it was Wednesday, for the $20 January 2015 puts. I mean, that's a massive bet. And whenever you see a massive, unusual bet, more often than not, especially with that kind of sum of money, it either comes to fruition or that is somebody hedging against an even larger position on looking for a different type of move or the opposite move. So you can look here. We look resistance at about the $40 level. We'll see if we can get up there. It's going to take a lot of legwork, that's for sure. And also the bond market been rallying a little bit, as we see this kind of used to be the flight to safety. Now it's just a flight to anything. But we'll just pull up the drawing, and you go from a 5-year long-term perspective, and you can see this trend line here. And I don't know why. There we go. You can see the trend line here was briefly broken, and then we had two trend lines coming into play. The one from the start of 2014. Actually, this low here coincided with the taper. The taper finally coming to fruition. And you can see the double break. Okay, we broke out and we fell from this resistance line, and we've also fallen from support here. So this in itself, this candle sticking out here all by itself, is kind of bearish. But one thing they talk about in Barron's this weekend, and I think it's important, I talked about this at Option Millionaires the fact that interest rates on similar treasury notes overseas, for instance, Spain, Portugal, Greece, these countries were about to go belly up 2 years ago, and now their interest rates for their government debt is lower, yielding less than U.S. government treasuries. That's pretty wild. I mean, if there's any, you want to look around and say, all right, well, what evidence do we have of central bank manipulation? I mean, that right there is it. I mean, these countries are supposed to go belly up, and then suddenly 2 years later, they're like the strongest government, they issue the strongest government debt, or you implied by the low interest rates anyway. This is the TLT. So yeah, the chart looks like it's going to head lower down at the bottom of this channel. I don't know. Initially, when we were up here and we topped up here, I thought we were going to pull back. But I just look at everything else going on globally, and the fact we have the Middle East kind of conflict over there, that there's a good chance we're going to break out of this channel to the upside. A couple more charts, and then we'll call it a day. We have Google, which has been really just kind of stuck, and you can see, but if you just omit the fall from the record levels here at the start, this is March of 2014, this looks like a nice bull flag. Okay, we've kind of bottomed here at the 525 level, but on top of that, I mean, if you want to look from a longer term perspective, we did put in a lower high, which is not good. But this is really an important week for Google. And I think if it does break above this trend line resistance here, that it's going to break back over 600, much like Apple did when Apple hit its highs, although it took a lot longer for it to find its bottom and then move to the upside. Apple put in a nice W bottom about this time last year and started to really break out. And then, of course, this nice wedge. We had the earnings report, and it's just been really soaring. Somebody asked me, oh, what do you think 100? You know, I think there's a good chance it's going to get back to this level. This is the all-time high was at 100. Back then it was $703, I think, and then just a dramatic decline. Everyone was calling it the next Microsoft, but look what Microsoft has done recently, right? Microsoft's been on a tear. Microsoft is up some 40% over the last 7 months. So yeah, if it's the next Microsoft, yeah, sure. Then Google's going to sort of new highs. We have Yahoo. In this channel, I think it's down pre-market. I'm not sure what the news was, but you can look the support here at 32.50. Some trades that I like. I'm still in the Netflix puts. I bought some on Friday for a quick 30-minute trade on the pullback, and you can see on Friday we did get a brief pullback, pretty much with everything. But you can see I got the puts up here, and I sold them right around down here, and you can see it hit support and rocketed up close just about its session highs. But it's funny because I like Netflix for a pullback here on a similar reason. I don't know if Google is at the same juncture. So, you know, it's funny how you can your judgment can be clouded by what position you have in the market. For Google, this is possibly a bull flag. But since I own Netflix puts, this is a lower high that's going to... anyway, I'm just looking for a pullback to under $400. I have the 405 puts. And if you can look at that, the relative strength index isn't really ripping like it was on its way up. So we'll see. You know, Netflix, we have asset prices being reevaluated with all these acquisitions. SanDisk, which hit a new lifetime high of over $100. What it closed at $98.47. Okay, it's been consolidating. I think an analyst upgraded it last week. Is buying out FIO for $11.25. FIO we trade for earnings a couple times, one for the good, one for a really bad move, but you can see it's been moving up over the last 7 trading sessions, and so they're being bought out for here, this price right here, $11.25, which is not even the highs it saw back in March. So it's a good price for SanDisk. We might see that go up. Also, if you look at the storage names, look at Western Digital now. Western Digital is at 92, just off all-time highs. This stock could see a significant move to the upside this morning. So you got to keep that in mind. The same, you say open, all right, well, let's go to Yelp. Yelp, analysts are talking about it positively. Look at the jump up here. 90 is certainly in focus with Yelp. Even Angie's List, stock everybody hates. $14 could be coming in the short term here as this is a cheap acquisition target. All right, UPB here, optionmillionaires.com, the S&P 500, ETF, the spiders. Let me just pull in a little closer, and you can see we're up in a new channel. Sometimes I drew a little intraday trend lines. Get that out of there. Well, we'll do that later. You could just look at the market here. We're just off our all-time highs. And think about it, just a mere couple days ago, we were up over 96 briefly, and 196. We had a nice pullback intra-week yesterday. We opened futures higher briefly and then smacked down on Iraqi fear. So here we are. This morning, futures are a little lower. It's certainly going to be an interesting week. We have that just disgusting stuff going over in the Middle East. It makes me nauseous that we share the planet with these kind of individuals. All right. I'll see you in the chat room. Everyone have a great week. UPB here. Goodbye.